Welcome everyone to this session on buying stocks. I now have the privilege to introduce our speaker for today's session, Mr. Debashish Basu, who is also the founder trustee of Money Life Foundation and the editor and publisher of Money Life magazine. Mr. Basu is a chartered accountant by qualification with 29 years of experience as a journalist. He has worked with most of India's leading newspapers such as the Times of India, Business World, Financial Express, Business Today, Business India, and has written columns for Business Standard and the Economic Times. Mr. Basu is a member of the task force of SEBI on the creation of Internext market segment for smaller companies and has also served as a member of the Mutual Fund Advisory Committee of SEBI. He is also the author of several business books like The Scam, Pathbreakers, and the Plain Truth series. May I now invite Mr. Basu to begin the session.
First, why we lose money in stocks? First, the reason we lose money in stocks is because we do not have the discipline or a process. This is very important. In real life, we know that if we do something, there is a consequence. It can be good or it can be bad, or it can be even neutral, but we know there is a cause and effect. For instance, just to give a simple example, if I knock this, there is a noise. If I knock a second time, there is a noise. No matter how many times I knock this, there is a noise. So there is a cause and effect which is very, very clearly established. Based on this, we can create a process. A carpenter used a process to create this lectern, and he will use the same process again and again to achieve exactly the same results. There is not going to be any variation. He will be able to create a lectern of more or less a similar shape or size. Unfortunately, most of individual investors, when they look at a stock and when they buy a stock, they do not have an entire process in mind why they have bought it. What is the reason? At what stage he would know that he was wrong? Because you can be right or you can be wrong. Fortunately, in market, everything is black and white, plus or minus, up or down, profit or loss. There is no third option anywhere. All right? And the point is, at some stage, even with all the right things, you would probably know that maybe I was wrong about this, and you need to get out. But even before you know that you are wrong about something, you would have to be able to articulate very, very clearly why did you buy the stock in the first place. There was a very recent study which is quite a fascinating thing. In the US. And in Germany and in India, there are 2-3 different studies. Investors were asked about why they bought a stock, and in fact 70% of them actually could not remember why they actually bought the stock at all. So not even one line of explanation. So one of the ways to handle this is to actually write down why you bought the stock. You write down very, very honestly. And I looked at it, my friend told me, or I followed the wisdom of the media, as I said, or sometime around 11ish, it's a very comical thing that every day CNBC does. There'll be a call from somebody, let's say a gentleman in Chandigarh, and he'd say that I bought Jindal Steel and Power at maybe 800 rupees, now the price is 400, what should I do? Then they'll get an expert to say, and he'll ask, are you looking at the short term or you are looking at the long term? So this is a comical thing which happens day after day in a large number of stocks. So he'll say, I don't know, I don't mind holding for the long term. 50%, he's already lost 50%, so he has no option but to say that I'll hold it for the long term. As they say in the market, long term is short term gone bad. So he will say that I don't mind holding for the long term. So then he'll come up with an explanation. All that he's asking for in that situation is a confirmation whether I did the right thing or not. When he had bought it, if he knew why he bought it, for what objective, at what point he would know that he was wrong and what action he would take. People say that this entire process, as psychologists say, is a pre-commitment. You have to pre-commit to a certain course of action. If something goes wrong, what will I do? This is how disaster management policies are framed. This is how every process in real life that we see, which are dependent on risks, which are dependent on accidents, which are dependent on disasters, this is how all these pathways are formulated. Our process normally is to ask a broker, what do you think? Kya acha lagta hai? So then as if he's the expert, he'll tell you something. Now, I have a very fascinating story about a gentleman called Radhakishan Damani. He's one of the richest and the most successful investors in India. You normally won't hear his name. He's like Rakesh, and they are all part of the same gang. I don't know whether it's a good or bad thing, but every time somebody had asked, even friends close to him, or a broker or broker's son or a sub-broker, among his close circles, if they had asked him, राधा कृष्ण जी क्या लगता है मार्केट, इससे तो अच्छा लगता है, so they ask him क्या लेना चाहिए, जो अच्छा लगे. That would be normally his answer. Now I have often, people used to criticize him, why don't you give a tip? I mean, you know, you are such an expert, you're probably buying Hindustan Lever, say that you buy. But I think it was just the right thing to do, because you should think for yourself and you should arrive at a conclusion by which you will know what to buy, when to sell. Do that homework. You ask me, I'll say, jo acha lage. So what we know, instead of doing that, we depend on the wisdom of the media, the analysts. Now this is something, a new breed of people which have come about in the last 15 years or so. They're usually chartered accountants or CFAs, or very qualified. Their job, they are bright people. First of all, you don't become a stock analyst so easily, and all the more because there's just a handful of them. If there are about 40-50 brokerage houses, each of them employing about 50-60 people, you're only talking about a few thousand people, few hundred people in the entire marketplace. And this is a coveted job. People get well paid to do this. The job of an analyst is to talk to the companies and create a spreadsheet of next 5-10 years earnings. Based on that spreadsheet, they are supposed to tell you whether the stock is, buy, sell, accumulate, hold. They have a variety of code words for this, all of them literally meaning nothing. The reason being, across the board, study after study has pointed out that at any time 90% plus of stocks that analysts analyze are a buy. They're never able to come up with a sell. At the most, they'll say it's a hold. All right. The reason being that their job is to enhance the brokerage business of the broking company. They are really employees of the broking company. The more they are able to come up with buy, there's more people will buy the stock, and the brokerage will increase. So there's a clear conflict of interest between what his actual role is and what you expect him to do. You expect him to give a impartial view about the stock. Now, even if he were able to give an impartial view about the stock, he'll only know about the company and the fundamentals. He will not know of the one and only factor which will determine your profit or loss, which is at the price that you're able to buy. All right, and that is something that is completely beyond their capability, or they're not even supposed to do that. Very often, especially in a bull market, we actively look for tips from friends, relatives who are supposed to know, right? And especially with a clear-cut request. Tell me something that's going to double, or tell me something that's going to go up 50%, all right? And you're asking another person who's similarly lacking in process. So he'll probably heard of something that is going up, and he'll probably tell you that, but he is not an expert. He's not an expert in the company. He's not looked at the valuation. He's not looked at the price. Nothing. Finally, none of these people are responsible for your profit and loss. You're asking, they're telling you. It's all a very casual kind of a thing. For you, you're putting real money. They are not responsible for your profit and loss. One of the most fascinating things is how many people believe that if you are able to talk to companies, you will be able to get at the truth. Now this is one of the biggest myths among all the sets of people from whom we ask for information and we seek what to buy. This is one of the most dangerous. The reason is that they would, even if they were honest about the performance of their companies, they have no way of knowing, absolutely no way of knowing where the stock is placed in terms of valuation, what the other people are doing with that stock, which alone will determine the value and the price henceforth. Remember that the price of a stock is a price which is collectively determined on a daily, on a minute-to-minute basis by millions of people. It has nothing to do with the managing director of the company or his analysis or his understanding of the business. Having said that, let me tell you even how his own analysis can be wrong. We had a long interview for our Pathbreaker series. We had a long interview with Baba Kalyani. And he described this fascinating story of 1997. Ratan Tata, chairman at that time of Telco, had called all ancillary suppliers for a huge meeting in Lucknow. This was 1997. And the economy had just come out of the problems of 94, 95, 96 when interest rates were very high, the growth was very low, and things were looking up. The Asian crisis did not affect us so much as it affected Korea and all of these countries. There was a lot of enthusiasm about India. General elections were around the corner. All of that was fine. In 97, March ending, Telco recorded till then its highest ever commercial vehicle sales. And Mr. Ratan Tata wanted to double that over the next 2.5 years. So, which is why he had called all of them, including Kalyani, including Bharat Forge, which is the single biggest supplier of forging equipment forging parts to Telco. It may be interest for you to know that commercial vehicle sales figure of March 97 was not surpassed by Telco for another 8 years. 97 was the peak. For the next 8 years, it was in only 2005 that Telco surpassed that 97 figure. Now here was a chairman of the company saying, tell me, commit to me how you're going to supply, how you're going to help me double my sales over the next 2 years, which I can very clearly see. And this is what he saw. So even the company managers themselves don't know what is going to happen 6 months to 9 months to 1 year from now, except in certain cases. I wouldn't say that this is applicable to all the cases, but only through exceptions that we can learn what can go wrong. I would say in many cases, such as in pharmaceuticals or in consumer goods, this is probably not going to happen. It will probably happen more in steel, will happen more in engineering, will happen more in industrial materials and all of this. When Mr. Kumar Mangalam Birla went and bought Novelis of Canada, paying $6 billion. He had no clue that the entire aluminium market is going to crash in the next 3 months, which is exactly what happened in 2008. So, company managers are focused on their business, on their day-to-day business. They're focused on next quarter sales. They're doing a good job. They want to do a better job. All that's absolutely fine. They have no clue about how the external environment is going to change, and especially now in these days of globalization, how the external environment can change so completely as to negate all of their views. Finally, even if we were to avoid all of these influences which are constantly being bombarded, and we seek also, you could still buy a great stock and absolutely at the wrong time, and therefore see your wealth go down by not 5%, 10%, but in some cases you could see the stocks go down by 30, 40, 50, even 60%. Some of the best Indian companies. I'll share a chart with you how frightfully wrong one can be and see the valuation erode, and there is a way to handle it. I'll explain that. All this especially happens because we are human beings after all. I had done a session earlier on your money and your mind. It's there. There is a YouTube video on that. You can look that up. I keep repeating that the mistakes that we make are something that every single human being at some time or the other in their lives have made, because it is inherent in us. It is because we have survived as an intelligent species over tens of thousands of years and kept on improving ourselves and enhanced the civilization,